Hey everyone, welcome back to Rambler's Diner. It's good to see you again. Thanks for stopping by. Has your doctor told you that you need to cut back on sodium, but you love pizza? And what are you going to do now? Well, you've come to the right place because today we're going to show you how to make a lower sodium pizza that you can eat and you can have 2 or maybe even 3 slices and still won't affect your daily numbers. Okay, to give you a little bit of a backstory, this past summer I had to fight with the big C. Yeah, we duked it out. I won, but I lost a kidney in the process. And now I have to be on a low sodium diet. So I'm being real careful about what I cook and what I eat. And that doesn't change my love for pizza. So I'm going to show you how I do a pizza that I can eat 2 or perhaps even 3 slices and still stay within my numbers. The FDA recommends that we stick with 2,300 milligrams of sodium per day. This meal today, if you eat 2 pieces, you'll stay at 500 milligrams just for this particular meal. If you have 3 pieces, it'll be 750. But you can still eat that much pizza. It's a fantastic pizza. It's delicious. It's tasty. And you can do it within your daily limit. So if you want to see how we do this, stick around because here we go. All right, to get this party started, we're going to put our dough together. We're going to use 2 1/4 cups of, we have bread flour. You can also use all-purpose flour. It doesn't make a whole lot of difference. We have a tablespoon of olive oil, a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, most of these recipes that you'll find will call for at least a teaspoon, if not 2 teaspoons worth of salt for this dough, but we're trying to go low salt. We also have a teaspoon of active dry yeast and 2 teaspoons of sugar. We're going to get some water now, and it's going to be warm water, and we're going to mix the active dry yeast and the salt and the active dry yeast, the sugar, and the water together to activate the yeast. Okay, I've got 1 cup of water here, and you can see that it's floating around 115 degrees. That's just perfect for our yeast to wake up and get ready to go. Okay, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our sugar and we're going to put it in our water. We're going to give it a good mix, let it dissolve just a little tiny bit. Now we're going to add our yeast. Again, that's 1 teaspoon of active dry yeast. And we're going to let it sit here for about 5 minutes. And in the meantime, we'll get the rest of our dough started. Okay, we're going to measure out 2 1/4 cups of bread flour. There's 2 1/4. Now we're not going to put the bread flour away just yet because we're going to need to have some for our hands to keep things from getting too sticky. Now we're going to put our 1/2 teaspoon of salt in with our flour, and we're going to give that a good mix, get it all stirred up real good. We don't want any clumps of salt in there. So there we go. And now we'll just wait for our yeast. Okay, our yeast is ready. Take a look at that. You see when it gets nice and bubbly like that, it's ready for you to work. Now, if you have instant yeast in your house, you can also use that. You'll probably use a little bit more than what we had here, and you'll mix it directly in with your flour. But this is what we have today, so that's what we're using. The whole reason for this video is to show how we can make this pizza dough without it being overly salty, and do it quick and easy in your home. I mean, this is just absolutely a quick thing to do. You do have to let it raise for a little while. We're going to get this mixed first before we put the olive oil in. Try to get most of the flour nice and wet. Okay, now we're going to take our olive oil and put over the top of that. Spread it around good. And now we're going to give it another mix. How many of you like to play with your food? If you like to play with your food, get ready because here we go. Okay, now we're going to get a little bit of flour on our hands. Dust them like that. And we're going to bring this together and we're going to knead it right here inside of this bowl. You don't need to see 5 minutes of kneading, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to knead it for about 5 minutes. Okay, so we've kneaded it for about 5 minutes. We're going to take it and form it into a nice ball. And we're going to set it down for just a second. And we're going to take our olive oil. And we have a clean bowl here. We're going to sprinkle some olive oil in there. A teaspoon or so. We're going to take our fingers and wipe it up the sides. Then we're going to take our ball of dough. We're going to roll it around in that olive oil so it stays nice and moist and fresh. And then we're going to cap it. Okay, now we have our bowl with the dough all capped off. We're going to take it to the oven that I've turned the light on about 15 minutes ago, so it starts to warm up. Now, if your oven has a proofing function, you can use the proofing function. That will work perfectly. If you don't have proofing function, just turn the light on and let your dough sit in there for about an hour to an hour and a half to proof. Okay, you saw how easy the dough was? Now we're going to make the sauce. It's equally easy and equally low sodium. This is a Cento tomato puree. This is, I believe this is made in Italy. I'm not 100% certain. But what I do know is it's good, and it only has 20 milligrams of sodium per serving in it. And one serving is a quarter cup. So what we're going to do is we're going to take 1 whole cup of this, and we're going to add some seasonings to it, Italian seasoning. We have some onion powder, some garlic powder, and some olive oil. And that will be our sauce. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and make our sauce. We're going to use 1 cup of this tomato puree. I don't think we're going to need that much sauce for the pizza. We usually use about a half a cup total, but we're going to go ahead and make this extra. We make enough pizzas around here to know that we'll be using it shortly anyway. Now in goes the Italian seasoning, the onion powder, the garlic powder, and the olive oil. And now we just give that a good mix. So we'll let this sit here until the dough proofs. Now we want the dough to proof long enough, so I said about an hour and a half, hour to an hour and a half. We want it to double in size essentially. So we'll wait and see how long that takes. I'm guessing it's going to be about an hour today because it is pretty warm in the oven, and we'll come back when it's ready. All right, we've already done the dough. You saw us make the dough. You saw us make the sauce. And to add to that, we've got some pearl mozzarella. That's fresh mozzarella that's packed in as little pearls, if you will. We've got onions. We've got bell peppers. We've got some asparagus. That's 6 spears of asparagus. And I don't know, I guess about 4 or 5 mushrooms. To finish it off, we're going to top it with some arugula after it comes out of the oven. We don't want to put it in the oven with the arugula on it because it will just make a mess. And then to top that off, we have some balsamic glaze. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take some of this semolina. And if you don't have semolina, that's okay. You can use cornmeal if you need to. We're going to put some of that semolina down here. We're going to be very generous with it because we're using fresh dough from home. We're going to take our dough and we're going to put it out here. Get a little bit of that semolina on the dough. Lift it up. Spread the semolina back around. Now working from the middle, we're going to push it out towards the edges, and we're going to make us about a 14-inch or so pizza. Now the dough for this, the recipe that I use calls for an entire teaspoon of salt. Other recipes for the same amount of flour call for 2 teaspoons of salt. But if you use that much salt, you are going to go over your daily allowance of salt. So I used a half a teaspoon of salt, and it works out just fine. There's plenty of salt in it. just keep stretching our dough. Okay, so as I said, this has a half a teaspoon of salt in it. A half a teaspoon of salt equals 1,180 milligrams of salt. Okay, so that's, I mean, you could eat the whole pizza if you really wanted to and still stay within your daily limit, but you wouldn't be eating anything else for the rest of the day. To that, we're going to add this pizza sauce that we made. This is made with Cento tomato puree that I showed you earlier. It has, for an entire cup, it has 80 milligrams of salt in it. And we're using about half of a cup here. And we're going to spread that out all the way to the edges. Now, when you're working with really fresh dough, you have to kind of work fast. So we're going to go down with probably about 6, maybe the entire 8-ounce package here of this pearl mozzarella. We'll see how it goes. Try to get them separated here. Make it even across the whole pizza. Now let's just use the whole package. Now, this fresh mozzarella has a lot less salt in it than your regular block mozzarella or your shredded mozzarella. So there we go. And now let's put our onions on. We're going to use about, I don't know, I'd say about a half a cup worth of onions. These sliced onions. And we're going to use these red bell peppers. I think we can use them all. Let's put some asparagus on. Try to come down with them nice and evenly. And let's put our mushrooms on. So what I'm trying to show you here, folks, is you can still have a very nice hearty pizza. You don't have to suffer. Now, if you like a ton of sausage or pepperoni or something like that, yeah, you're gonna have to limit yourself. But if you make a pizza like this, you're gonna come in well within your limits. So our pizza's ready to go. I've turned off the stone. Let's give it a launch into the pizza oven. And we'll get the stone turned back on, make that rotate, and we'll have pizza in about 3 minutes. Okay, it's about 3 minutes later, maybe 3.5, and our pizza is done. Let's bring it on out. Take a look at how we did. Look at there. All right, to finish it off and give it a few extra health benefits, we're going to take this micro arugula and we're going to sprinkle along the top here. Just like this. This gives it a really nice peppery taste and a little bit of crunch, although it will wilt just a little bit as we're finishing it off. And for the finishing touch, we're going to give it a swirl of balsamic glaze. Okay, before we run through this or cut it up and give it a taste, I'm going to run through some numbers here for you. We used 2¼ cups of flour, 0 milligrams of sodium, 1 tablespoon of olive oil, no sodium, yeast, 1 teaspoon, no sodium, sugar, 2 teaspoons, no sodium, warm water, no sodium, of course, half a teaspoon of salt, 1,180 milligrams of salt. The Cento tomato puree, we used half of a cup, so that's 40 milligrams. Onion powder, 0, garlic powder, 0, Italian seasoning, 0. Pearl mozzarella, we used the entire 8-ounce package. That's 680 milligrams. The red bell pepper has 6, mushrooms 2, onions 3, asparagus 12, micro arugula 5, balsamic vinegar glaze about 15. The total for this entire pizza 1,983, which is roughly equivalent to 250 milligrams per slice. Now, if you were to equate that to Domino's, that Domino's veggie pizza, about the same size, will have 630 milligrams of salt compared to 250 here. So you're way, way better making your own. Now, one more thing I'm going to add. If you are much more restricted than I am right now, you can cut your salt back in the dough to 1/4 teaspoon, and that will make your entire slice of pizza 175 milligrams. 2 slices would be 350, so well within most people's limits. Hope this gives you an idea of what you can do so that you can still enjoy pizza, albeit at home, even on a low sodium diet. So let's cut into it. We're going to make 8 slices out of this. Without further ado, let's take a slice of that pizza and see how we did. You can see the bottom is done perfectly. Soft crust on the outside, or on the inside. And let's go in for one more bite. Delicious. So friends, there you have it. We have a low sodium pizza, so you can still enjoy pizza, albeit at home. You have to make it yourself, but I showed you how simple it was to make it. Just a few minutes putting the dough together, and then of course you cut your veggies and things like that. And the entire pizza probably costs, I don't know, $5, maybe 7, something like that. Very, very inexpensive, easy to do. You can do it inside in your oven if you need to. We happen to have a pizza oven, but that's us. We hope that this gave you some ideas about things that you can do and inspired you about things that you can cook for yourself if you happen to have to be on a low sodium diet. If it did, please hit us with a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything we do here in Rambler's Backyard Diner. Going forward, we'll do more low sodium ideas from time to time. We'll do some more vegetable-based or plant-based meals from time to time, but we're still going to keep cooking our meats as well. We still love our meats. Thanks for stopping by again. Have a great day, and we'll see you next time.